So far this week we've learned about scatter plots. What's a scatter plot? It's a graph with lots of dots that show if there's a relationship between two quantities. We use scatter plots to make trend lines, and the trend lines we can use to make predictions, and that's what we learned yesterday. Remember, we would go to the x-axis and go up to the trend line and over to make that prediction. Today we're going to learn how to make our own trend line and make a prediction from it. So the only thing different from yesterday and today is yesterday they provided the trend line for you, and today they're not going to. So let's go through these notes and fill out them, and then you'll get going on your own. So it says, what is a trend line and how can I use it to make predictions? A trend line is a line that best describes, write this down. A trend line is a line that best describes or fits the data in a scatter plot. Trend lines can be used to make predictions, which we did yesterday, about the data. To draw a trend line, draw a line in the middle of all the points that is going the same direction as your data. I'll say that again. To draw a trend line, draw a line in the middle of all the points that's going the same direction as the data. You should have about the same amount of points above the line as you do below the line. Now, the thing is on the real STAR test, it's all online now. And you're not going to be given a piece of paper with these graphs. The cool thing is the test allows you to draw lines on it that are already straight. The problem is I don't have a way for you to practice that in my classroom because I don't have a program like that. So we're going to just have to get good at figuring out how to do it on a computer, and then hopefully with these interim benchmarks that we're going to take soon, they'll have the same thing where you can go draw a line with your mouse. Remember last year we took that interim, it was like a 20-minute benchmark. It didn't take that long. Y'all remember that? It wasn't like a full benchmark. So we'll be doing those probably soon. I don't remember when, but once I get that information, I'll get it to you guys. But hopefully the program will allow you to draw lines so that you can practice doing these trend lines on a computer program. But for today, we're going to do it a little bit different. But the idea is the same. So right here it says, practice drawing trend lines in the graphs below. And yesterday I talked to you about this. Remember that a trend line will never be below the dots. It'll never be above the dots. Where should it be? It says, draw a line in the... And there should be just as many dots above the trend line as below. So if I'm looking at this pattern, everybody look at the board. I'm going to zoom in. My trend line should go right through the middle of these dots. It doesn't mean it starts at 0, 0. It goes through the middle of the dots. Now, here's the answer key. That's why I keep looking at my phone because my answer key's on here. Do you see how their trend line goes perfectly through those dots? Yes? So you're going to practice drawing a trend line. Now, again, use the side of your ID or the side of your calculator. You can take this off. It's a straight edge. To use that straight edge.
So, Miss, what you mean is like by, it should be the same.
So, like, watch. If I draw this line, everybody look. So when I look above the line, there's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 dots. And when I look below, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 dots.
So you want us to count them?
You don't have to count them. Just kind of eye it and say, does it look like it's balanced? If it's not balanced, then erase it and draw a different trend line.
And they should always be...
It should always go through the middle of the pattern. So I don't want to do a bad one on the actual notes, so let me do it on the board. So do y'all see if I drew a trend line like this? That's not a good trend line because look below the line, there's only 2 dots. But above there's what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's not a balanced trend line. That's why I was telling you, you can count, but you don't really have to. this one, I would kind of go, yeah, so now there's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 over here, 1, 2, 3. I probably should shift it down just a little bit. So you always want to do these with pencils because you're going to mess up at some point and you're going to want to redraw your trend line and fix it. Okay, let's go do this one. And I love, like, on the old STAR test, I was able to give all my students a ruler, and they were actually physically able to draw it, and I would buy them all the clear rulers so you could actually see, like, the dots through the ruler. But on this new STAR test, we can't do that because it's all online. So we're going to have to come up with some other trick to draw a good trend line on the computer. Like I said, the good news is the computer lets you draw lines within the program. Now this one, there's a whole lot of dots. You're still going to follow the trend. Just make sure there's just as many dots above as below the line. So I think mine looks pretty decent. Let's look at the key. Yeah, mine looks like the key. You can kind of see the key right here. So how do y'all feel about drawing the trend lines on your own? Not too bad?
That would be, it'll definitely put you through a challenge.
It frustrates me some because if your trend line is slightly off, there's 2 answers that look like could be right. So that's when you go back to your trend line and ask yourself if you did a good job. So let's go do some examples. Number 1, the graph shows the average number of hours of a group of 13 middle schoolers, how much they watch Netflix and sleep. So here's sleep, here's the Netflix. We're going to draw a trend line to answer these questions. So if your trend line is not drawn good, then your answer is going to be off. So here's my trend line. I think I did a pretty decent job. There's quite a few dots below, quite a few dots above. I might have could shift it a little bit, but let's see how I do for my answer. It says, what is the best prediction of the number of hours a middle schooler would sleep if they watch 2 hours of Netflix? So where is Netflix at? The x-axis or y-axis? So I'm going to go to 2 and circle it. I'm going to go over to my trend line. And go down, and where am I at? 7 hours. If you are not near 7, your trend line was not good. And mine was good because I got the right answer. Okay, let's read the next question. What is the best prediction of the number of hours a middle school would watch Netflix if they sleep for 8 hours? So where is hours at? Hours of sleep. So I'm going to go to 8 at the bottom. I'm going to go up to the trend line, which is just right here. Y'all see the trend line's literally right there? And I'm going to go over. Where would I be at? Between 0 and 1. So what's between 0? Say it. 0.5. Like half an hour? All right, let's look at the next question. The graph shows the number of guests and the cost of catering for 14 weddings. So do I need a trend line? Yes. This is a pattern. So I'm going to want to go right through the middle of the pattern. This one is not as easy, but if you look, mine's kind of intersecting between 0 and 100 on the y-axis.
What if it slightly like touches the dot, but like it's not like touching?
Say that again.
What if it's not like touching the dot? Like
It does not have to touch the dots. It just needs to go through the pattern. You're not worried about it. You're just worried about it going through the middle of the pattern. Okay, let's read this question. What is the best prediction for the catering costs for a 100-person wedding? So we need to go to 100 people. So where would guest be? On the bottom. So I'm going to go to 100. I'm going to go up to my trend line, which is here. And then I'm going to go over. And I'm like, if this is 800, what would this be right here?
900.
And it's right above 900. Maybe 950, 940, whatever. And remember, these are going to be multiple choice. So what do y'all want to say?
945.
945, sure. Okay, let's read the next question. What is the best prediction for the number of guests at a wedding that costs $200? So where would dollars be? On the y-axis. So I'm going to go to the 200, go over to my trend line and down. And I'm like right before 20. So if this is 0, this would be what? This would be 10. And right there would be about 15-ish. 15, 16. I'm going to put 15. 18 would be a good guess. 17 would be a good guess. Again, these are multiple choice, so you would pick the answer that's closest. All right, let's go do this one. Go draw my trend line. Based on the data shown, which of the following is the best prediction for the total cost if they purchase 7 items? So where would 7 items be? X-axis or Y-axis?
X.
All right. So if this is 6 and this is 8, this must be?
7.
So I'm going from here up to my trend line and over. And I am between 30 and 40, but closer to 40. So which answer? 37. Do y'all want to do one more, or are y'all ready to do the assignment?
We're ready.
Assignment? Okay, the assignment's going to be in the Google Classroom. And I am actually going to give y'all expo markers to draw your trend lines. You can draw on the screen. Just don't use a permanent marker. Use an expo, and then I'll give you something you can wipe it off with, okay? So go to the Google Classroom.